Welcome to Branded, the week's biggest moves in business, branding, and marketing. It's July 4 to July 9, 2025. Here are the 7 headlines you need to know. Amazon stretches Prime Day into a 4-day marathon. Will epic deals beat out epic tariff hikes?
Sephora hijacks the hype with free Lyft rides, turning couch clickers into store shoppers.
Coca-Cola slaps your name and a Star Wars holo onto every can for the ultimate nostalgia flex.
Ben's Original wants you to keep it original as it sheds the last of Uncle Ben and chases weeknight dinners.
Wall Street bets on cheaper money after a soft jobs report. Could ad budgets finally loosen up?
Boeing scrambles the flight deck to calm safety fears and advertisers' nerves.
And TikTok Shop blows past $1 billion in US sales. Can your brand afford to sit this one out?
Branded starts now. Amazon Prime Day expands to 4 days and tests shoppers' wallets. So kicking off July 8, Prime Day now runs 96 hours with total big deals, dropping every midnight as Adobe projects US e-commerce sales will hit a record $23.8 billion, nearly 2 Black Fridays in 1 week. Yet the party sits under a tariff cloud. Fresh 10% duties on Chinese goods push effective import costs above 30%, nudging brands to raise prices and consumers to time big ticket buys before hikes land.
Stretching it out longer generally is not necessarily helpful.
Right.
The scarcity in time is one of the biggest assets you have in a sale. It's one of the reasons we don't do, it's like announcing our new 200-day sale. We don't do that. We keep it shorter. So the question is, where is that right point? Okay, I would make a prediction, and you're going to hold this to me this time next year. Here's my prediction. That next year, Amazon Prime Day will be 3 days. Jeff Bezos did not have an expensive enough wedding. He needs to have a more expensive one. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say next time. Hope Jeff.
You never know.
Hope Jeff, I don't know. Your renewal, vow renewal ceremony. Let's say he needs a more expensive one next time. So they're gonna extract more money out, but it's not going to be viewed as quite as successful, and so they're going to cut it back, and they're going to say, hey, a little bit longer is good, but 4 was too long. This is all based on 2 things. One, it's based on Christmas in July. For any retailer, the big drive season is holiday season, December. This is the origins of Amazon Prime Day is let's literally do Christmas in July so we can drive a counter-cyclical sales period. But the other part is that really a lot of people don't realize this. This is actually much smaller than Singles Day in China and Asia, which is November 11, which is a massive day of commerce, which actually is much, much larger than Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Amazon Prime Day, add them all together, and Singles Day is much larger. So we often talk about okay, if you take the same number of, X, tweets, or same number of social posts, and you spread it out over a month, and then you condense it into a day, it's like a month, not viral. A day, same number of posts, right? Same, let's say 50 posts. Suddenly viral if it's a day, or if it's an hour, even more viral. If it's a few minutes, wow, now you got something that's like a major trending, topic or meme or something like that. So the question is, and I just wonder about, is 4 days worth more than 2? It's new math, Tom. Is 4 greater than 2? My prediction is overall, it will be larger. It will allow them to get more money from our wallets. But will the impact of every day be lessened? Yes, certainly. There is power in keeping it shorter.
You think when a sale lasts this long, that shoppers will begin to think that regular prices are a ripoff? I'm guilty, by the way. I've bought already this week.
What did you buy?
Just some stuff for a hobby of mine. I do 3D printing and stuff. So I bought some stuff for that. Some camping equipment. We go camping.
What I'm wondering is, and the reason I'm bringing this up, just in your case, is over a bigger time, maybe there's a way to find different use cases in this. So, you start off, you get that 3D printing equipment. I'm going to treat myself. And then you're like, well, you know what? I better treat the kids. Wait, my wife wants this. I better treat her. And in a short amount of time, you don't maybe get through all of those things. I could actually see a model where of the 4 days, or maybe it becomes a week, whatever it is, each day has a different purpose. This is like in Amazon Prime Day this week, this is treat yourself day. This is, treat your significant other day.
Amazon Prime Day, or 4 days as it happens, pushes me over the edge usually, because I think that thing I looked at 2 months ago that I thought, it's $200, but I thought I'm not going to spend that on that right now. It's like 150. I think I should jump at that right now,
A very thing that's shocking about this, and I don't know if you're just doing this for my benefit. Are you a distinguished British gentleman?
Yes.
Thinking of buying these things in dollars. You said it's
No. I'm doing it for your benefit.
I was like, look at this. Like, wow, we're talking in dollars. My influence is rubbed off on you, but no, you just translated it for me to make it easier. You figured I couldn't understand the amount. So you're like, he's not going to get pounds. He has no idea what that is. So I'm just going to dumb this down. Okay. Got it. Well, so the other part of this, which is interesting, the sort of specter of tariffs that's hanging over this. And what is that going to mean for deals? Like, are all of these prices going up? I think there's been a general approach from retailers of like, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's just like get in while the getting is good. Did you feel any extra pressure to do it this year, Tom? Or you think no? You felt just like, okay, I've been watching this, 3D printer for 6 months, price dropped a bit. I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, no, exactly that.
4 days is long enough for there to be a news cycle. So it used to be you have your 1 day, right? And you're like, okay, here was the result. And it was like every year it was a record set. But what we're looking at now is like, and it's sort of different conflicting reports. We'll get clarity in the next day or two, but like, was it, not quite as big a sales as we thought? We don't really know. Amazon's not knowing. So it starts to become a sales, a cycle, because what happens is if you have news reports, if a full news cycle happens inside of it, then it's like, you have this story, Tom, that's like, oh my God, it's the biggest ever. People are going crazy. And then you hear this and you're like, I better jump in. Like, oh shoot. It's like, I better get in. And that's the benefit of the 4 days. But it works the other way, which is if it's like, this year it's down. Oh, the sales are really down. People aren't really, and then you're like, oh yeah, I was like on the fence, but it's down. Seems like the deals aren't great. I'm just going to sit this one. I don't know. Maybe my wallet's a little bit lighter this year than other years. I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah.
Moving on, Sephora rides Prime Day's wave on and off Amazon. Instead of fighting Amazon's sale, Sephora offers free Lyft rides to select stores. They're a beauty retailer, courting deal-hungry beauty fans who plan to comparison shop while Amazon's sales is ongoing. By turning Amazon's traffic surge into in-store traffic, the retailer, they're now owned by LVMH, hopes to pad loyalty signups and prove physical retail still sparkles when discounts dominate screens. Do you think that offline equals online when online is having a moment? Do you buy that or do you not?
I don't know. Now, this story for me, it was a bit out there because I actually wasn't too aware of Sephora. Honestly, my cosmetic days are behind me.
Even in the era of 4K, Tom, when we got to produce these shows, suit yourself. Yeah. No, we're going sans makeup now, but I'm not just like, ruling that out of hand. I mean, 4K is 4K, but okay, I get your point though. So you're not super aware. You weren't waiting for a ride to Sephora. You didn't need the ride to get there.
It's a nice idea. I mean, I'm sure this story. As far as I'm aware, Delivered to Beauty, right? They were giving $20 Lyft credits or something. They were giving Lyft credits, right, to help people get to their stores. I mean, it's a nice touch.
The question on some of these things sometimes is it getting to the right audience? Between Tom and Ben, who's the person who's like, hasn't been in our store in a while, has proven that they've bought things before, if they're doing all of their good sort of tracking, if they've connected online to offline, if they can, say that, the minute Ben, who's let's say the big Sephora buyer, walks in the store, that's like, that's a whale coming in here, right? Like that's good. If they can make that and target that to the person, then it really could make a difference. So I think something like this is great if you're targeted in its application. Does Sephora have the data to target this? I'm going to say probably to some extent. Maybe they always sort of wish they had better targeting, but I think that makes the difference.
Yeah.
In generally speaking, special promotions work best when they're targeted to special people.
You're a special person, Ben.
Thank you. I knew you were going to, the minute I said that, I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Coca-Cola resurrects Share a Coke for Gen Z. The soda giant is bringing back the most iconic personalization play, swapping logos for first names and layering in QR codes that unlock a memory maker video tool. It's nostalgia with a tech twist, positioning Coke with both timeless and TikTok ready right before new Star Wars cans drop under the Refresh Your Galaxy sub campaign. I was actually speaking to a producer of this show just before we came on, and he's based in Argentina, and he was saying that this happened, that your personalization, your name's on the Coke for him a couple of months ago. I seem to remember this campaign running a long while ago, at least in the UK. My
version that I experienced was like, it said like, I don't know, like sister, brother.
Right, yeah.
All that, which was odd because I myself am not a big Coke drinker, but my wife is a diet Coke drinker. And so she asked me to pick up like a case. So I went to pick one up, and I was like, I kept trying to look for one. Like, I don't want to pick sister. I don't want to. I worked really hard back in my single days to not be in the friend zone with my wife. The campaign is sort of amazing, right? It's like, we're going to emphasize on our product, which is essentially sugar water without as many calories, that we're all about the relationships. We're all about this person, this name, and what's nice about it is like, you got to have a pretty recognizable brand, right? Because if it's like, I don't know, if it's like Tom's 3D printing and you just start writing sister on it, Fred on it, they're going to be like, what, why is this happening? But when you have Coca-Cola and you like have a very recognizable color, can, bottle, you don't even need to know what it says. It is a great articulation of branding to be like, we are the relationship, brand.
Also, Refresh Your Galaxy. Obviously, they've teamed up with Disney, with Star Wars, Marvel, whatever it may be. Apparently, there are 30 collectible Star Wars can designs now. So, the Star Wars aficionados are going to be collecting every possible variation of that.
I always think that like you have two powerful brands, you combine them together. Sometimes 1 + 1 does equal 3. This one is probably 1 + 1 probably just equals 2 and reminds people that there's a connection, because it's just not that surprising, but a nice touch.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben's, now Ben's Original, says keep it original in brand refresh. 5 years after retiring Uncle Ben's, Mars, owner of the brand, unveils a 360-degree platform touting ready-to-heat rice as clearly the fast track to togetherness, supported by dynamic TV spots and a polished identity. The move taps consumers' craving for quick, comforting meals and stakes a claim as a cultural anchor amid economic and social whiplash.
Honestly, until we did some research for the show for this week's news, I hadn't realized it had changed, rebranded from Uncle Ben's.
This is sort of one of those things where you have these brands that are like a sign of the times, right? Because really, the brand gets a lot of pressure after, really, it's George Floyd, right? Like these kind of issues. How is, it has a very sort of stereotypical approach to depiction of the Black community. And it feels a lot of pressure. It changes the brand. It takes them, a year or two to see it through. And you could see it now in campaigns. They're still trying to help Tom realize that, no, it's Ben's Original now, and make sure they don't lose the brand equity. So what do you think of these, sort of brand plays that are rooted in a prior time, maybe a sensibility that we would not do today, but there's nostalgia, there's recognition, there's brand equity. Do you abandon that?
In my personal opinion, no. If referring to a rice packet, I say to my wife, I will say, I'll grab some Uncle Ben's.
So you would say, there's power in that brand. Now, for me, I'm half, Thai. I have some Chinese roots. We probably wouldn't say that. We would probably say like the rice variety, like go get some jasmine rice, or we'd say, or there's something else like that, because probably it would be viewed as this is like I don't know, Asian community, like the kind of rice for people who don't really eat rice, don't really know rice, would probably be what we would say. It's kind of a prepackaged
microwavable rice
stuff like that. Yeah, it's just like whatever is in your culture, right? Is like you're kind of a snob for that thing. Like I'm not gonna say anything about you, Tom, but I'm guessing you're probably a bit more particular about tea than I am about tea. And no,
sure.
you're actually, I do know this, Tom, because you came and stayed with me and I went out and had to hustle to get some. I didn't have any tea in the house and we had to get some in the house. But I think the brand equity, this is an interesting case because this just came up in the news, different context, because, he who shall not be named.
Which one? Which one?
Which one? Not the one in Harry Potter.
Okay.
But the other one who heads up a government in the U.S. Came out and said that the NFL football team, which is now the Washington Commanders, was previously the Washington Redskins, ought to take its name back. And of course, this is tied in with a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and which is suddenly that was it was like at one time the least polarizing thing. Amazingly now. It's polarizing for people. A Native American group came out and said, yeah, we want it back.
Oh,
we
cool.
think we should go back. I don't know if this was the one group. They said it was like, we were proud of that name. Like that's better. So it's one of these things where, brands are especially these sorts of brands are meant to like Uncle Ben's was not 100-year brand, but it was like on the way to getting to 100-year brand. Yeah. Right. And we've done a ton of work for some. It can reflect the changing times and sensibilities change. And the problem is with a brand, you need it to stand for something, but you need it to evolve. You basically need some evolution of your brand. It needs to evolve with people, but you just got to do it in a way that doesn't lose brand equity. For me, it doesn't, you keep the colors, you keep the look, you do it. But the problem is Uncle Ben's isn't quite a Coca-Cola, right? True. It isn't quite like that red, iconic, everything else. But I think people know what color is the Uncle Ben's package?
Yellow?
I think it's an orange. I want to say it's orange.
It could be. It depends on what flavor you get. I had some yesterday, actually.
Did you have like lemon pepper rice or something in the yellow?
It was Mexican flavor rice. Yeah, I had it in like a fajita burrito situation.
You're eating well over there, Tom.
I treat myself.
All right, next story, Tom.
Wall Street shrugs at mixed labor data. So June payroll added a softer than expected 155,000 jobs, while wage growth cooled, sending the S&P 500 to a fresh intraday high on hopes of a September rate trim. The trader now priced in at a 68% likelihood that the Fed will ease this fall, giving marketers a potential ad budget tailwind if borrowing costs slip.
It's uncharted territory in the U.S. when you have the U.S. president, sort of in past weeks calling the head of the Fed, which is the head of monetary policy in the U.S., which has a lot of power, separate from the president, like an idiot, basically, right. And saying of course you need to lower interest rates. Of course you need this boost. And it has great effect on the economy and everything else for doing it. But, no one really cares that much about runaway inflation until it's really, really bad, right? And until suddenly it affects everything. So they're always more cautious than this. But I think right now, when the Fed is sort of bullied into lowering the rate, I just don't think it works. So I think, they kind of do it in their own course. I think that, for advertising, for marketer, everyone sort of wants a lower rate. We're sort of expecting it, but it's always a bit later. It always lags a bit more. Bodies like the Fed are always a bit more cautious than everyone else. And the issue is that, interest rates are still high. Things are still high. People want this, coming down. And so I think it's going to be later than everyone expects.
How quickly do you feel that companies should start spending more on advertising?
It does a boost, but right now, honestly, the tariff situation and general chaos has created so much uncertainty. I just don't think that companies just jump in, dramatically spend more. I think there's a lot of questions. And really, that's by its own making, right? There, if tariff policy is predictable, if it is unchaotic, if you know what it's going to be in 6, you don't even know what it's going to be in next month, right? Yeah. Let alone 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Then then I feel like these levers have a bigger effect. It's just the market signals are really, really clear. Right now, there's a lot of just mixed messages, chaos. We like certainty, right? So there's just a lot of uncertainty in the world, and it's largely by the making of leaders in power. Moving along. Boeing's leadership shakeup aims to quell safety fears. Facing Senate heat over the Boeing 737 MAX whistleblower claims, the board ousted its head of quality and elevated former astronaut Chris Ferguson to oversee manufacturing culture. This, of course, has an impact on the airline industry, the travel industry, because airline brand trust scores often get affected when Boeing turbulence, so to speak, hits. So interesting, Tom. Boeing just, has been on a losing streak. The Airbuses of the world and others have just kind of moseyed along and really benefited from this. And Boeing, needs somebody to blame. Yes, this is damage control, but in something this big, it's not just like PR crisis communications here. I mean, it is like you actually need to solve the problem, right? Like we could do a great job on spinning this crisis communications change. And if you have another problem tomorrow, like that does not matter. So you have to fix the root of the problem. But it seems like, I don't know, it just feels like a step, 2 steps, 3 steps. It's just like slow behind. And I don't know if that's just like a massive company, right? A massive company that you just can't change massive companies on a dime, right? It's like a big, huge, like, I don't know, aircraft carrier, right? Nice. It's like you can't like turn suddenly and take a sharp right turn. So it does take time.
Do you think airlines should be sort of openly saying what planes they use on their ads?
It's like kind of like back in the days of like Intel Inside, like what's this chip powering this? You're like, it's like not Boeing Inside.
Yeah. Delta, we use Airbus or something like that, or whatever it is.
I probably not. Just if we're being, just to be matter of fact about it, because probably wouldn't want to remind people that just about the risk of crashing and the risk of failure and death and all of that. But there is something to be said. Like I don't know if we have a brand like this, Tom. Like maybe we can launch one, like the Volvo of airlines. Like, and we've even talked Volvo on the show. Like, I think it actually does hurt it a little bit. Like, I don't think the brand is quite what it used to be just because of some of the ownership changes. The only problem is if you do that, you really cannot cut corners, right? You can't have a plane crash on a brand built around that. So it's maybe why we don't see it in that industry. But there is room for a brand like that is just we do things the right way. That's reflected in how we do maintenance, how we do safety, how we treat our customer. I think that that could be a good airline brand.
Okay, so you heard it here first. There's the idea. So one of the other he who cannot be names, maybe they could start a new airline with safety in mind. Let's move on. Finally, TikTok Shop tops $1 billion in US GMV for Q2. ByteDance's social commerce arm doubled sequential sales by dangling 50% coupons and creator revenue shares, luring SMBs that once leaned on Amazon fulfillment. Brands now face a fork: chase TikTok's impulse buy gold rush or stick with higher margin DTC channels amid mounting privacy rules. I always feel that a TikTok Shop is massive. Do you know you used to get a bunch of people selling courses and this is how you do this and you can make $1,000 a week doing this. There is so many more now telling you how to run a TikTok shop where you can earn $10,000 a week just by doing this.
The TikTok format, I feel like, Tom, really like lends itself to this. Like it's short, it's like flashy, it's like get attention. It's like it feels like sort of shopping can work in that environment, right? It's like if we came out with like, hey, LinkedIn shop, Tom, it's LinkedIn shop. You'd feel like, I don't know, seems kind of doesn't really feel, but TikTok shop sort of seems like it matches the format and it is growing very fast. What I sort of wonder is, what does this mean for the divestiture of US TikTok from everything else? Because, whoa, suddenly now like China's going to have shopping data on everyone.
Oh no!
Like all the US people. Okay, that's very British sensibility, but US and China are adversaries. It's like, would you want the China having access to all of anywhere everyone's Amazon purchase habits, because a lot about the person, how to influence a person based on their purchases.
I did actually hear that the TikTok are now, or ByteDance, they're now looking into creating a separate app for the US specifically. So when the first one goes away, they'll create a second one like TikTok 2.
And the news was there was an extension on the divestiture, basically the sale of US TikTok. They gave it a few more time. They announced, US administration announced that. So we'll, I expect that to happen, but yeah, just kind of the power of TikTok continues to impress, and it's real commerce and real money. And because sometimes people thought, oh, is this just like creator economy stuff? Okay, you got 1 million people watching, you're just going to charge for eyeballs, but no, real, actual transactions, physical goods can transact.
That's it for the 7 biggest stories this week. But as a heads up for next week, I just want to tell you that it's going to be National Give Something Away Day next week. So if you've got something in mind, go grab whatever it is in your house, give it away. The second one is Nelson Mandela Day. It's a big day in South Africa. And the last one is, and my favorite, National Nude Day.
Tom, do you know how you recognize a nude beach?
No, tell me.
You just know it when you see it.
Nice.
That's it.
If you guys come to the show next week and I'm not wearing anything, you know why. I'm celebrating National Nude Day, right? Like, subscribe. See you next week.
See you then.